pivotal questions for Bangladesh currently in terms of the labor market challenges such as skills development, employment, technological innovation, competitiveness of very important industries. How in countries like Bangladesh you think that technological advancement is going to change the landscape of skills development?
Somebody who's struggling in the job market, who is in front of a factory gate but has no idea what's going on inside that factory. It's been a great privilege of mine to teach those digital literacies as well as the advanced machine skills that will help set workers up.
If an economy does not have much jobs, it's always easier to get exploited as a worker.
AI is eroding tasks for people doing research and law and anything under the sun. The definitions of remuneration will change.
Hello everyone, nice to be here with you once again in our podcast that we call Future of Work. As you know that this is our third episode in the row, and we have with us Ms. Sarah Krasley, who is going to be our guest today, and she is the founder and CEO of Shimmy, and which works with the productivity technological innovation. I will not explain from my end. I will hand it over to her so that she can explain. Today we are going to discuss with you skills development, technological improvement and advancement in countries like Bangladesh. Polished experience over the years where Sarah has worked in our country as well as some of the countries similar to Bangladesh and including USA. And she comes with a background where she has lots of work to share with us the vital and pivotal questions for Bangladesh currently in terms of the labor market challenges such as skills development, employment, technological innovation, and also the competitiveness of very important industries like ready-made garments and also the other industries. So I will not take much time and rather ask Sarah to introduce herself first, then speak a little bit about how in countries like Bangladesh you think that technological advancement is going to shape and change the landscape of skills development, especially when we speak about the industries such as RMG and the others.
Thank you. It's not often that I get to talk about a topic that's so near and dear to me with a labor economist. So I'm excited for us to dialogue from our different perspectives. I've been coming to Bangladesh since 2013. I think beyond my home country of the US, Bangladesh is the country I visited more than any other. And it's become such an important place for me and the place where I've been happy to help contribute in some small ways to the evolution in skills development. I myself have worked in digital transformation and manufacturing for the last 20 years, really looking at how can technology in a very pragmatic and cost-effective way help us make manufacturing systems better. And if we look at Bangladesh and the changes there, Avi, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. You know, RMG has been such a strong engine for GDP and growth. And now I'm seeing some emerging sectors come. Can you talk a little bit about what those are and how you see that changing from such a RMG-centric export?
Well, thanks a lot for these questions. I mean, this is the first time that I am being asked some questions as well. So I feel lucky, and that makes our discussion to be very comfortable.
Those are the most interesting podcasts, right?
Of course, yeah, of course. And thank you for asking and placing this right question. I think for me and for last 10 years at least, that some of the potential sectors that we keep hearing in Bangladesh beyond ready-made garments are leather, I mean, light engineering, of course, and also there are some sectors like pharmaceuticals, and obviously some of the emerging sectors like bicycle manufacturing, which is unknown, but it is doing really well in terms of exporting in the European Union markets.
Great.
And these are the sectors where we have good promises, to be honest. And of course, there are some other sectors like tourism, service-related sectors. But in the manufacturing, these are the 4 or 5 sectors where there are plenty of the scopes. But on the technological change and landscape being shifting towards, I wouldn't say that AI is going to affect countries like Bangladesh immediately, but rather technological transformation, adoption of automation, those things can affect and are already affecting our country. But I think, what's important is to shift our focus, like you said, from the ready-made garments itself only being the most priority sector for a long time, time has come to think and assess the other sectors' preparedness in terms of technological changes. What does it mean for the sector like leather, employment landscape change, job losses, wages, productivity, these sort of things.
Right.
And the other thing is that I would like to mention from LDC graduation is on the verge of process where Bangladesh will become a middle income country. So this will even be more relevant to see the skills and technological needs assessment from the LDC graduation point of view, where countries definitely need to come up with more diversified manufacturing sector with the right sets of skills among its workers and the management as well. From there, what would be interesting to hear from you, from your experience, that what do you think that what does it take to take the technological advancement towards the doors of the workers and towards the usage of the employers, for example, in the factory or in a working space, how advanced technologies can be used to make the working conditions and life of the workers better vis-a-vis the business growth of the employers better?
Well, there's so many touch points to that question. I think as a technologist and someone who's built technology in the industrial space for a long time, I always start by mapping the journey of a worker or a manager or someone I'm building technology for. And if I think about the thousands and thousands of workers I've had the pleasure of helping over the years in Bangladesh, you start to see their journey of maybe somebody who's struggling in the job market, who is in front of a factory gate and sees the different jobs being advertised, but has no idea what's going on inside that factory or what is the reality of working in that job. So, you know, some of the work we've done over the last few years in Central America is just helping a worker understand a day in the life similar to what you'd see in a TikTok video of this is what it's like to work inside that building, that gray building behind the gate that you have no idea what's going on in there. And here are the basic skills. Here is how long it takes to gain those skills. Here's how much money you'll make in that particular position. We know that ed tech solutions and job matching solutions, if you aren't clear with someone about how long it's going to take to achieve their goals, the usage of that tool is going to be pretty lousy because there's no incentive for them to continue. You know, alongside that, having that ed tech solution sit in a traditional TVET is important because people, you know, lose momentum if they're only learning something by themselves on a phone. So I think we're often saying to ourselves, either we swing one way and we have this fully tech-based experience, or we swing the other way and continue to teach people in traditional TVET. And something blended in the middle is really where we need to go as soon as possible.
I think getting to your point, which is very important, that even in the formal jobs, like a researcher and a corporate banker also doesn't know or do not know that what they are going to do when they are hired by their employer.
Yes.
For example, I didn't know when I first joined after graduating from economics that what would look like to get into monitoring and evaluation job. I landed in a job, but I only started learning it, you know, after getting into the job. And the environment, office, the culture, the HR, everything was new to someone who just joined. And it's true for many. But with the use of technology nowadays, I think you can just orient and reduce the information gap and asymmetry among the job seekers, or maybe even among those who are working in some positions and looking for some promotion and getting into some other industries as well. So that's an excellent point. Now, how do you think that this kind of app-based solutions and technological innovation can work better for workers in Bangladesh who do not probably have that much of training and technological literacy or educational literacy, to be frank, to be able to use those kinds of things and improve their scopes to get better employment?
Well, we focused really deeply on user experience. We've won awards from MIT and Microsoft by the way that we've used pictures and sound to help reach workers who've maybe never even worked on a smartphone. Maybe an ATM was their only digital experience before working with our tools. So it's been a great privilege of mine to teach those digital literacies as well as the advanced machine skills that will help set workers up. I think we encountered a lot of female workers who have caregiving responsibilities at home, and they loved that they could do a little lesson on their smartphone at home, maybe 5 minutes or something like that. They could do it either in the morning or the evening, and that allowed them to, over time, build those skills because they couldn't afford to put all the time aside to go to a TVET for a month.
360 hours, 180 hours.
Yeah, like they just couldn't do it. That was one of the things that the TVET institutions liked about us, that we could shrink the amount of time the training was needed in person. If you were doing that on your phone, there's so many things that you don't need to be in front of a machine to learn. So thinking about the problem differently has helped to make it much more cost effective and time effective.
So I think that app and the design is with you already.
Yeah.
So all it needs to find a good place to start and pilot something.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it will be very useful for Bangladesh. I mean, whoever the partners and the stakeholders are, I'm sure that whoever are listening to it, will be useful to get a kind of demonstration from you and to see how this can be used and adopted in some of the development programs and the projects that they are already running.
Yeah.
Including the ministries and the workers and the employers associations, right?
Exactly. I mean, we've de-risked this solution in 27 factories. We've worked in 14 technical training centers. It works in Bangla, and we'd love to help you all achieve what you need to in this next phase.
Inshallah, some way and navigations will be there, among the policymakers, and you will find your ways with your previous connections, and some of the energetic agencies and innovative initiatives will find its way to adopt this kind of technologically very advanced initiative. And going to the other thing that is, as a labor economist, that I always am curious about. I have a very classical dilemma about the labor market of Bangladesh.
Let's hear it.
Workers, exploitation related questions. I think that at the end of the day, if an economy does not have much jobs and enough employment opportunities to accommodate the huge surplus labor that we have, it's always easier to get exploited as a worker.
Absolutely.
Because if I don't work, somebody else will work even with a lower age.
Or you'll be pushed to the informal sector.
Pushed to the informal sector. And I don't want to work. I have this bargaining, that bargaining with my employer going on. And then the employer says, okay, get out of my factory. I will find someone else who will be even working in a lower wage.
Exactly.
So do you think that the ultimate solution for the country like Bangladesh to put workers bargaining in a very stronger position is to create more job opportunities so that the excess supply of labor can be accommodated?
This is such an interesting question for now, because I think it could apply to production workers as well as knowledge workers, given how AI is eroding tasks for people doing research and law and anything under the sun, right? It's great to talk to you about this, because I think a lot about how even the definitions of remuneration will change, right? We've all been, most of us, at least myself, have been a wage worker for most of my life. I get paid a salary or wages, and that's it. And now I think with AI, all of that is beginning to change.
Right.
I mean, what are you thinking about in terms of that?
I think for me, with the limited user experience that I have been able to use AI, I think some of the jobs will be less required. For example, as a researcher, and if I want to, for example, run a research firm and consultancy, I think I really don't need 4 RS.
Right.
I just need a very professional paid AI software that can generate a lot of things. Now, here is the deal. I don't need probably 4 RS, but I need a very good research analyst and manager.
And a quality checker.
And a quality checker who knows how to command the AI, knows how to get the good things and exclude the bad things.
Do you guys have the phrase AI slop in Bangladesh?
Yeah. So that's exactly the requirement will come in future. And I think also the brighter side is that you can actually enhance the quality of the work and the deliverable that you are producing. Because you can easily try to give 3 scenarios and produce 3 different things and then amalgamate and come up with a very compacting on whatever research that you were doing. So ideally, this is one thing, but the risk for countries like Bangladesh is that still there are pretty much, dependency on the low skill related jobs or entry level jobs.
Yeah.
Like you actually need a lot of RA positions, for
Yeah.
example, in my industry.
Sure.
And you actually need a lot of project assistant
Yes.
in many other industries. And these are the jobs which will be less and less demanding going forward. One of the threats that I see is coming is even if you have those jobs, the employer will offer less salaries.
It's
and they will
true.
try to exploit more. Because
Yeah.
I really don't need your expertise for a project assistant or research assistant. I'll rather tell my research manager to get a paid version of Code or ChatGPT and produce. That's the risk for a country like us. And I think the ultimate solutions for my end is to you train those RAs to be that good who can actually use those AI tools and improve the quality of the work. The problem is that often employers get greedy and they run after the quantity mostly.
Yeah.
That okay, now I'll take 5 more works. It's okay for business, you have to take it.
Right.
But make sure that your RA is well trained.
Yes.
To use those technological innovation to produce better quality of the work.
Right, but there's a lot of nuance in that sentence
Absolutely.
that you just said. If we go back to the industrial use cases that we were talking about a minute ago, when the new machinery came into the factory that had automatic thread cutting, all of a sudden the helper positions were gone. And those helpers who were in the workforce, who were coming in at that entry level, needed to have an upgraded level of skills to be a multi-machine operator or a more senior operator in order to even get a job at all. And if we look at the RA example that you talked about, for people particularly who are in knowledge work, who have access to a computer and a good internet connection, I worry that this upskilling and reskilling and retraining is going to be like a horrible treadmill at the gym that you can never get off, because the way AI is being developed and marketed and packaged makes that target really unpredictable about, where do I go and what do I do? And I think getting back to one of the earlier questions we were talking about is that I don't think traditional training systems are flexible enough to be able to serve people. Yeah.
It will not work with the traditional kind of, training, number one. Number two, the second point that on the IA I was trying to tell is, at the end of the day, you really need to create employment. Come on, in a country like Bangladesh, where you have 85% informal employment.
Right.
And you barely have 4 or 5 industry creating formal jobs.
Yeah.
And there is still many opportunities for many jobs that doesn't require, AI.
I agree.
If you just focus those jobs, for example, I'm giving you with this all tariff and Trump's conservative economy and global conservativeness that we are passing through right now, I think one of the opportunities for countries like Bangladesh and the other, LDC or mid-level country, try to meet their aggregate demand with local production.
Exactly.
I think, why do we have to import food items? Why do we have to import most of the things from here and there? Because countries like Bangladesh, which is anyway labor intensive, and we have surplus of population and labor.
And you have people that know how to make things.
Exactly. You teach them how to make things to use the local commodities and the products for the local consumption. So that's an opportunity where I see that AI will probably can be tackled a little bit by focusing on your internal economic development with a little bit old school classical economy.
Totally.
We consume and we produce. But other way, I don't think that dramatically for a country like Bangladesh, AI is going to be a very big threat in next 10 years. Some of the industries it will be, but as a whole, as a macro level, we still will have a lot of chance to create jobs. So ultimately the solution is to create jobs.
I agree. But I think the confines of those jobs and those definitions are going to change.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think we could even look at that idea from the other side, which I understand that Bangladesh is also beginning to build a labor pool of the people who are doing the back end that makes AI happen, the people who are doing the data labeling, the people who are training those models. And we need to make sure that the quality of those jobs and the human rights aspects that you talked about earlier are good for people as well, since there are really psychological damages that can come from that kind of work.
It's an important discussion that, for a country for upskilling people who are on the verge of losing their jobs. I think there needs to be some government intervention.
Yeah.
I think if a ready-made factory, ready-made garment industry is already showing us that there is a rapid job cut, I think it's a signal already for the policymakers and the government that they should plan that how these workers can be retained with a little bit of faster and technologically advanced training modules to be retained in some other close sectors.
Exactly.
Like some of the manufacturer in last 2 days, I think I had some conference and consultation. It's like leather industry was telling that some of the works and the basic nuances and the characteristics are more or less similar in the leather industry compared to the RMG for women workers. If they just are trained to get into the leather industry instead of losing their jobs from the ready-made garment and being unemployed, in this transition, a 2 months quick technology supported training can be given to that worker, and that can be connected to the employer in the leather sector.
Absolutely.
That can retain some of the workers very fast.
Yeah.
And here government has a space to work and bring those two sectors together to get this matching done.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Last thing probably before we close, I think I want to ask that how do you envision that, especially for women who are making amazing attempts for developing enterprises in our country through social media, through e-shops, through Facebook shops. There's a big bunch of those in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
How those kind of entrepreneurs, especially women, can be trained to manage their business and grow their business better with the kind of app and the technological solutions that you have worked on?
Yeah, I mean, we've focused mostly on production workers, but as a female entrepreneur myself, in the beginning, when you're starting something, you have to learn everything. You have to understand a base level of accounting and marketing and HR and even some compliance, of course. So I think when you're starting a business, you have almost little to no time to do anything else.
Right.
So the more we can do to help them gain those little skills and mentorship from others, I think the better. And I think technology is a very scalable, cost-effective way to fill some of those gaps.
So it is possible that in your technological surface and interface, a mentorship kind of grooming
Absolutely.
section can be added
Yeah.
for the service providing workers and the female entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, we've built a platform that can teach somebody to make Laksha Shamai as much as it can train somebody to run a Kanzai machine and attach a belt to a pair of pants. So we really wanted to be purposeful and do what we could to build something that helped people.
I think that's amazing to be able to discuss with you on very emerging topics and the issues, Sarah. And I think for our audience and the crowd, whoever is listening, I think it is very important for us to decide and think that would we spend another 10, 15 years to do a lot of dialogues and workshops and, a lot of consultations, which are also important and very important for the policy space and knowledge sharing. I don't deny that these are not important, but we also have to be very careful that the way the technological advancement, LDC graduation is moving so fast for our country, I think it's important to focus on the operationalized and the implementing part of getting people ready for the labor market and getting people ready for the next sets of skills to find the next job or at least do better in the current job. And there, I think the technological innovations and the platform that Sarah just suggested will be very helpful for the country like Bangladesh, where we sometimes miss out the focus where we probably need to invest more. So thank you. I think you enjoyed the discussion and thanks for joining us. And
Thank you.
I hope we get good suggestions from you going forward for our future of work podcast and the episodes.
Thank you.
So good night. And I am Nazmul Hossain Ovi, as you know me. See you in the next episode.